think we're good to go. Yeah. We'll go ahead and get it fired up right from here. Hit that click track. Boom. Very
Nice.
official around here.
Let's
It is
go.
the 5 on 5 podcast presented to you by directmusicservice.com. FIVEONFIVE. Put some edits in your favorite DJ stocking. Get them some remixes. Get them some originals from directmusicservice.com. That code will save you a little bit of change off your first month subscription. So go freshen up those DJ sets. Every week we do this. Travis, let them know what's good.
Yo, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit us up. 5 on 5. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and ding the bell to be notified every time we drop a video. Man, I'm getting better at this, though.
A solid 2.5 years.
A solid 2.5 years. Yeah. We have a great episode today. I know I say this every time, but we have a very special guest, and I'm excited to have him. It's always good when we have a fellow podcaster here. So I'm going to start it off. I'm going to say it's the boys. It's Phenom, Neek, and Jupiter. And our very special guest today, back-to-back podcasts. I love this dude. I've been friends with this guy for a minute. Chicago to San Diego to now DC. Fantastic DJ, fantastic producer, fantastic human being. I can't say enough good things about this person. Make some noise for Willy Joy.
Boom, 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 boom.
Happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Willy Joy, how are you, man? How's things going?
I can't complain, man. Yeah, no, I think everything's going really well. It's very nice, I will say, to be a podcast guest for a change, because I'm so used to being a podcast host that even when I was signing on to this, it felt like, I don't know, like I felt like I was a virgin about to step into the bedroom for I was like, what is going to happen here? Like, I have no idea. It's really great, man. I'm loving this already.
I love this. I know you're on the other side of things. You just recently interviewed Claude Von Stroke, aka Barclay Crenshaw.
Yes.
He's done with Claude Von Stroke, right? Is that
my understanding is it's a hiatus.
Okay.
I think at least for the next year, he's focusing on the Barclay Crenshaw thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like with a guy like him, I love talking to him because he's been doing this forever, so he's got a great perspective on everything. And with him, I feel like it's kind of a never say never kind of thing. Like he was just like my favorite part of that whole interview I had with him was I was like, so why are you doing this? Because like. Clearly no one was in your ear telling you should do this. And he was like, oh yeah, this is a really bad financial decision. Purely for the love. And that's the kind of answer I love, man. That's why I love the guy.
I love that. Yeah, no, I know we all follow your podcast. I've been following it since the inception. I wanted to ask you, was this a project you had before pandemic that you were thinking of this? Or was it like, hey, things are shut down, I should start a podcast?
I am proud to say that mine was not a pandemic baby. No, I've been doing back to back now for about 6.5 years. So it's 2017, I think, is when I started. If I'm doing my math right. Yeah. And yeah, we're at like 350 episodes, just episode a week, talking to DJs, producers. I assume people listening to this probably at least have heard of the podcast, but if you haven't, I mean, it's like this. It's just fun conversations with cool DJs and producers, and sometimes other people from the music industry. And what I always say, and you guys tell me if you feel me on this, is like, what I love about doing this is like, I'm not a journalist. I'm not qualified to do this in any way. But what's fun is because I don't think there's a lot of discourse about what we do, about being a DJ, about being a producer. Like it's refreshing to me to have these conversations because I think, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this too, sometimes you talk to somebody and it's like they hadn't even realized you could have a conversation like this. They're saying stuff they've never said before, telling you stories you've never heard before. I don't know, man. For a music nerd like all of us here, I think it's just a beautiful thing.
Totally. Yeah. I have been following and see some of the guests you get and listen to the interviews, and I'm always blown away that it took so long for the the history to be recounted, you know, for some of these eras. And I'm looking back and thinking about our time at rehab at Debonair and stuff like that, and I'm like, this is a documentary. This is a whole movie that's waiting, that's primed to be happen, from not just, you know, what was going on in blog era in New York and LA and Miami and blah blah blah, but middle markets, Chicago, you know, like there was a lot going on in Minneapolis with Mike 2600, you know, shout out to Mike.
Shout
You
out.
I
know,
was born in Minneapolis as well, so yeah.
Hey,
Mike,
Midwest.
yeah, you know, and it feels like with all this nostalgia, everything going full circle, I mean, all these records are being reissued from, you know, early Vampire Weekend and stuff like that, that there's some major stories that need to be told on the history of the music. And I feel like you're doing a good job in getting some of these stories down. And I wanted to give you your flowers before we get into the whole episode,
Hey, thank you,
because
man.
yeah, I know that we know that it's a labor of love at times. It's a painstaking process. It's to show up every week and to get everyone on the same schedule is not easy. You have the show where you're running it by yourself, which is easier. You're your own boss. You're on time for that, but it's still laboring. So hats off to you, man.
Shout
Hey,
out.
appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a funny thing because this is how I feel about it. I figured out early on that it was going to be a long road with the podcast, and I knew that going into it too. Like I was a podcast fan. I'm just a podcast nerd. I listen to podcasts all the time, and I listened to a lot of, especially back then, I was listening to a lot of comedians' podcasts, and you know the comedy podcast ecosystem is this just well-oiled machine at this point. I mean, it's like a financial juggernaut. And I was just always wondering why no one did that for like our world, because we all know a million crazy people with interesting stories, people from different walks of life, you know, from yeah, the wildest stories to the most heartbreaking things to the most inspirational paths, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it was just weird to me that no one else was doing it. And I kind of had the idea, and then I waited like a year and no one else had done it. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to be the one who does it. I didn't want to do it, but
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
it's a good idea, man. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to be said about, I could go on and on about like the podcast thing. Here's the one example I always give is the first interview, not the first I ever recorded, but the first one I ever put out was Diplo. We were trying to, you know, make a splash, go big on the first one. And during that podcast, he mentioned a new album that he was working on that ended up being that like EP he did with like Drum and Little Xan, and I don't know if you remember that. It
Yeah,
was a while back now,
yeah.
but it was the first time he had ever mentioned it, and he was like going down the details. He was like, on this track, I got this person, like the whole thing. And he's a celebrity where it's like news if he announces it, you know?
Right,
And
right,
we were
right.
like, holy shit, he just like told, you know, he announced a new album on my podcast. That's amazing. And we couldn't get a single outlet to pick it up. Like we were shamelessly going out to every blog, every being like, we have like big news that all of you would like to report. And that shows you the level of like where podcasting for music was at that point,
Jeez.
where like we were handing it to him. It's like we weren't asking for anything. It was just
Yeah,
like literally just here's information you can use. Nothing. And
nothing.
at that point, I was like, yeah, okay, this is gonna take a while.
It's really remarkable how things have progressed, and you know there's so much more festival coverage, and there's, you know, although blogs aren't necessarily, you know, like the hype machine era and everything like that, we're not actively searching out on somebody's blog and their taste. There's these moments of documentary style, and I feel like, you know, Andrew Barber did a good job with that with Fake Shore Drive
Shout
and
out.
covering the hip hop movement. We had Andrew on the podcast.
Nice.
You definitely picked up the ball and ran with it as far as the dance music spectrum. And I feel like with so many artists kind of starting to break out and stuff like that, even going back through your previous interviews and listening to that, is sometimes the only coverage these people have. You know, like a lot of these guests and stuff, you know, I saw you had Will Runzel. Like, Will doesn't, you know, there's not people knocking down the door to do these interviews with kind of these people behind the scenes that are keeping the machine on the tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't do a ton of the sort of behind the scenes like managers, agents, but every time I do, it's really interesting because first of all, they're always the most nervous because they're never the ones who are like in the spotlight. So it's always like you would expect you do a podcast with like a super famous person and that's the one where they're going to be like, I need to hear the recording, I need to make edits, we need to take out this five, you know, all that. It's never that. It's always the behind the scenes people. I'm not talking about Will was great, but it is a funny thing with like management because they're just like they're not used to having their shit out in the open, I guess. Can we swear on this?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Fuck shit. Damn it. Piss,
all of it.
Right. Yeah. Love it.
Have we made the 30-minute threshold? That's usually
yeah.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I never think about that for mine, and then every time I'm like, God, I'm so dumb.
Oh, yeah,
I wanted to ask you, obviously we're going to get into the matchup for today too, but when you started the podcast, was it always just you or did you have a team in mind? And what was the initial, what did success look like for you? If you're like, if I could just do blank, then that's a success.
That's a good question. It's always been, I mean, for me, the podcast has always sort of been tied into my larger career in music, at least the way I see it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I mean, when I started, I've always had like my manager who takes care of my management, like me as a DJ, as a producer, he was kind of acting as the producer for the podcast at the start. And, you know, it's like, when you talk about producer for a podcast, it's more like a radio producer where he's helping with booking and, you know, logistics and like what do you call it? Background tech stuff, like just taking care of all the detail kind of stuff. And so it's always been me and him up until pretty recently. I still have like a very small team. I have an assistant who like sends some emails, but yeah, it's always been basically me and one other person. And as far as success, like what does it look like? I was really inspired by Mark Maron's podcast at the start. He has a podcast called WTF that, if for any comedy fans, is kind of a legendary podcast where he was, you know, way early to the game. There was no model for success when he started. He was kind of at the end of his rope. His career was, you know, plummeting. And this is all, you know, stuff he says on the podcast. And he was just having these really open, interesting conversations with people he'd been doing comedy with for the last 30 years. And there was something about it. I don't know. I've always loved seeing the backstage, you know, like for me, even playing gigs now, like I love being up on stage. I love being in front of a crowd, but I almost love seeing the green room just as much. You know what I mean? There's like a romance to the backstage, the dirty part that nobody sees that you need to put on the crazy show. So it's something like that for me, man. And it was just, I like I said, I just felt like if I didn't do it now, someone else was going to do it. And not only would I be pissed that I didn't do it first, but like I wouldn't like whatever someone else did as much as because I knew what I wanted out of it. Right, and so, you know, in a business level, I think it's always evolving. I mean, it's, I think, tied into what I do as a DJ. I mean, we've done certain tie-ins with like events that I'm playing where maybe I'll show up early and me and somebody else on the bill will almost like a meet and greet, like do a podcast for a small audience. Or maybe we'll do even some advertising tie-ins, be like, okay, I'm coming to play X festival this summer And we're gonna do some episodes where I talk to other people playing that festival, like before it happens, and we'll talk about what we're excited about. So there are business ways to sort of tie it into that, but I don't know, man. At the end of the day, for me, it's as long as I'm enjoying the conversations and as long as I think it's a good product, and I am proud of like what it's become over the years. That for me is like it's enough. Like I'm like, as long as the quality level is high enough, all the rest of the stuff that's going to come from it is going to evolve naturally from whatever else I'm doing at the time as a DJ or producer. You know what I mean? So it's I've never had like a 10-year plan for it, if that makes sense.
Right. Right. No, that's awesome. I definitely, we could make a whole episode about the podcast and podcasting because we haven't really had the chance to have a fellow podcaster on here yet. I know Jaime Black reached out to me yesterday and he was like, he's like, hey, I would love to get on the show. And I'm like, absolutely, man. Like, he's been in it for forever. Also told you to say hello to Willy Joy.
Yeah, man. I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Yeah. And I think, it's integral to have these people in the scene that are documenting what's going on. So,
well, can I ask you not to? I promise I will try not to turn the tables too much, but I am actually curious for you guys. I mean, kind of same question. Like, what's the bigger existential reason behind 5 on 5?
Oh, this is a pandemic baby.
This is our pandemic baby, and it's gone. It's our pandemic baby that's gone too far. We didn't know that it would go this. We didn't know it would go this long. We didn't know it would grow. We had no real goals in mind when we started. It was just, we should do this, see what happens. And we got some reception from it, or some positive reception from it. So we just kept it rolling. And now I think we're at a place where we're like, well, how do we legitimize it? I feel like we're always talking about like, how do we make it a real thing, even though it's kind of become a real thing. We're always still like, how do we make people believe that it's a real, even though I think it's really us looking at it like
it is.
This isn't real yet. Like we haven't actually done anything. We're
Yeah.
still we're doing the same thing. And we'll add a little something here and there. Like every couple of months, and we're like, okay, it's more legit now. And then I think that settles in, and we're like, how do we make it more legit?
Yeah. Well, that's what's fun about podcasting, and what's awful about podcasting too is like it's total Wild West, right? So you could, I mean, I don't have like a concrete example, but I know there was something in like year 3 of the podcast for me where I was like, oh, I've been doing this wrong the whole time, like, and it's been years already.
100% understand what you're saying. Like, we're on about year 3 now.
Almost,
something will always come up where we're like, damn, we've been doing this wrong the whole time. Like we didn't like, I don't know, like monetization or like sponsorship, like things like that. We're like, how do we even make money doing this? Like we're just doing it.
Right.
And
I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah,
we're still trying to figure it out. Like it's still like, shout out to DMS, they help us out. But we're still like, some people seem to be making a living off of their podcast, and we're like, how do we get to that? And we're still trying to figure that part out. Not to get into the nitty gritty, but I do think it's an interesting subject because we never really get to talk about it, is the actual, like, the podcast itself. But the outside of it, what I think is great, and I'm sure you have an interview based podcast too, is the interviews kind of build a network. And
of course,
while you're DJing, that ends up becoming a valuable thing in itself.
Of course.
So you reap benefits from the podcast that aren't necessarily directly the podcast. It's like benefiting the podcast itself.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's the human angle on that too. Is, I mean, for me, like, we're all busy, and oftentimes doing what we do, even for you guys, you're in different cities, And so for me, it's like whether I'm talking to somebody who is a good friend of mine or somebody I'm just meeting, it's like, it's like setting up a date almost. Like, you're going to sit down, and when do you talk to somebody for an hour and a half straight in your life outside of a podcast? You know what I mean? And
It's very true.
Maybe that's sad to say. Maybe that's something we should all be working on, but
that's just adult living.
Yeah. So no, just in that sense too, man, like it's strengthened my relationships with friends. I've made new friends, and it's enriched my life 100%.
100%. I've met people that I probably never would have met if it wasn't for podcasting. I never would have got to talk.
Oh, for sure.
I will say this is, and maybe this can be the button on the podcast conversation. One thing I love about it is like whether an individual episode goes crazy or whether two people listen to it. What I love about podcasting is that it's really not about the individual episodes. Like it really is about the body of work. And in today's like attention economy, where everyone's trying to go viral and everyone's just looking for like that one thing, it's really nice to have something that is legitimately a long-term project, and as long as you keep pushing, that's kind of the only way to ensure that it is successful. Like I like that a lot.
I do like that idea a lot, because there's this new trend in social media where it's pretend like you're on a podcast to say something, to get a message across, be it spicy or like, it's always like dude incel guys, or like who else is on there, like inspirational things, like just people just giving out messages, but they're pretending like they make the setting look like they're on a podcast, like they're in front of a mic and they have headphones on, but they're not actually. Like, what podcast is this?
Really? Man, this is news to me, but I love this.
Yeah, it's a lot there. So that's a whole thing, but I'm like, well, at least we actually have a show. There's that. At least
that's something to point to.
That's so bleak. That's so dark. Just
that kind of sounds like
in
if
their house by themselves.
Yeah, that sounds like if DeVry University made a podcast. You remember the DeVry University commercials?
Oh, shout out to DeVry. You're sitting on the couch.
Yeah, you're sitting on the couch. What are you doing? Get up, do something. DeVry University is right down the street.
All my real estate friends are really into this concept too. Like,
yeah,
they'll give like real estate advice in the setting of a podcast.
Yeah,
a really cool background with a mic in front of them and headphones on.
It's always
not looking at the camera, but looking like they're talking to someone, but there's no one there.
It's always finance, multimedia, multi-level marketing.
So at the very least,
scammy shit.
Yeah.
At least we actually have shows.
Well, I mean, isn't this what happens in American capitalism in general? It's like a culture makes a cool thing, and immediately it's like, well, okay, but how can we scam people with this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great and all.
God. What we do around here, every week we compare two artists head to head, their top 5 songs as viewed most popular on Spotify. It gets weird, it gets fun. It's all going to be for you today, Willy. You're going to pick these choices. Neek has the pick today between the two artists, and we're going to go 5 rounds, and you're going to pick a this or a that between the songs. Neek, what do you have for us today?
Okay.
So today I'm just going by what's playing in my car lately. I tried to set up something that was like
sexy,
really
red,
exciting and pop type shit, but today we're doing D'Angelo versus Raphael Saadiq.
Oh, okay.
Man.
Okay. So you've never done this one before?
I don't think so. I looked it up to make sure we didn't. I don't think we've done it. I'm surprised we haven't done it.
Yeah, same.
It's one of those ones that feels like we should have. Willy, if you have to do a refresher, just mute your mic and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, I might have to. It's with Saadiq especially.
Yeah,
D'Angelo I'm pretty good on, but
it looks like Saadiq is pretty much 3 out of the 5 songs are all on the same album.
Okay. No Tony songs though?
One Tony.
One. Okay.
Which I'm
All right, well,
surprised. I don't know how that worked out.
Throw me in the deep end. Let's see what happens.
Let's do it. So round one, we have Raphael Saadiq with Get Involved and D'Angelo with Lady.
It's D'Angelo for sure. It's also probably I'm gonna say D'Angelo every time anyway. For me, this is not that hard.
A Q-Tip production though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Round two, Love That Girl by Raphael Saadiq and Brown Sugar by D'Angelo.
That's D'Angelo again.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
So Love That Girl was on, what was the name of that album? The red one? It was like
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about too.
Like that 60s soul album he made.
Yep.
And then round three, we have Still Ray from Instant Vintage and Unshaken by D'Angelo.
Yeah, let me, if you don't mind, let me pull up.
No, by all means,
Saadiq, because I know that song. I was like, oh, I know that song.
And not to influence Willy. Oh, Still Ray is one
Instant
of my
Vintage
favorites.
Rules.
It's one of my favorites. You know, J. Cole did a sample off of somebody's mixtape, and it was called "Main on Fire." And it's so good, huh?
Did you sample that?
Yeah, he sampled it. I'll send it to you. I'll find it and send that to you. It's fire.
And then Unshaken, that was from, I can't remember what album that was from, but it was like, I think it was just a single. I think that's like the newest D'Angelo song.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how many times do you hear a tuba in a song though?
Yeah.
Still Ray had a tuba. Playing the whole
Ray does
song.
have a tuba.
The whole song.
Points for creativity on that. I mean, yeah, the Still Ray, I think I'll give it to that just because, just off the strength of the fact that I just went and listened to it and I was like, oh, I fucking forgot about this song. I love this song. And I love those moments where you realize that there was a song you listened to for like a year straight and then completely forgot about. And yeah, that's a banger. I also forgot, I mean, it's basically the Still DRE piano. Like it's kind of exactly the same, and it's a nice little reference.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's sick. All right, round 4, 100-yard dash versus Untitled. How does it feel?
It's Untitled.
Untitled. Shout out to the video. Pause, but
pause.
Yeah. Listen, listen. That video came out when I was in high school, and I had a 6-pack. I was like in my playing shape. I was playing basketball, football, and track, and everything like that.
Just spinning.
And I had cornrows too. So I was on one when that video.
In high school, I was D'Angelo.
Yeah, I was basically the light skinned D'Angelo in high school.
And no offense here, but I'm gonna say unpause because that one that's just good.
You had a lot of us wondering. Well, what's up? What's going on?
Yeah.
Round 5.
That's the first unpause in 3 years.
Yeah, it was.
We finally got an unpause.
Yeah,
we gotta play.
I love that.
Pause. No, play.
Play. Hit that smash that play button. Yeah.
Let's see where this goes.
Willy's like,
D'Angelo. Yeah.
Keep that rolling.
D'Angelo's the only one that could get the play button on here.
I love
There we go. Good on you.
It's a part 2 video. It's Untitled part 2. It just keeps going. Camera keeps going out. I don't know. Hit place. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch the DVD extras on that.
I haven't seen the credits on this one.
It's a commentary track. Yeah.
I think D'Angelo might have just
12-inch version.
Yeah,
making a video.
The extended 12-inch version.
Right. That's exactly
Round 5. Let's Take a Walk versus Send It On.
Man, okay, hold on. Let me real quick refresh myself. I need to Send It On again.
I'm dying from
I think we all need to refresh ourselves.
I think we all need to
I need to refresh mine on that last one.
The Untitled. Oh my God, that's hilarious. There's a bit in there.
There's a bit in
there. There is.
Good on you, D.
Oh, shout out to Marvel, DJ Marvel. I have in his his Twitch stream one time, they were talking about how they put his face on D'Angelo's body.
Oh yeah,
You remember that?
That's one of those though that you're never gonna feel great about that, because
Right.
like nobody's
don't look
got
like that.
Right? Exactly. It doesn't matter who it is, but at least for me, I'm just like, oh yeah, all this stuff I'll never have. Great.
Yeah, exactly.
It's send it on for me. Send it on for me.
100%.
I love that.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like
yeah.
anything. Raphael Saadiq is one of those artists, but it's like putting somebody against Stevie Wonder. Like, what are you gonna
Look? I'll go to a Raphael Saadiq show
every time,
7 days out of the week, and not know one word of the songs, and enjoy my ass off.
Oh, he's incredible.
Yeah.
And this is also, I gotta say, Raphael, if you're listening, I assume you are.
He for sure is.
Yeah, for sure. It's not really about him. This more speaks to gaps in my knowledge. You know what I mean?
and Spotify's algorithm.
Yeah.
No, of
Yes.
course. Of course.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys are like this, but sometimes I'll get like imposter syndrome like DJ imposter syndrome, because for me, there are certain musical areas where like I know everything and I can go a million layers deep. And then there's other genres that like I should know. I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
there's literally popular artists that I've never heard. Like people say their
100%.
name and I know who that is. And I'm like, I've never heard a single song from them.
But I think that's okay, because like that's when I listen to a DJ, what I want to hear is their taste and their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, but it is one of those things. It's not really like I know Raphael Saadiq, but it was close to an area where I was going to have to be like, guys, I got nothing.
Right.
But then putting anybody against D'Angelo, it's like, that's what I mean. It's like putting them against Stevie Wonder or Michael or Prince. Like he's, in my opinion, anyways, one of the greatest.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's tough. I would do D'Angelo and Anthony Hamilton. That might be a close one.
That's a great one. That's a fun one. I don't know. I can't think of very many artists. Like to me, it's like he's God tier. You got to put him against like Stevie or somebody.
Yeah, put him against Erykah Badu.
He was Prince trajectory. D'Angelo had that Prince trajectory, and then was on his own time and was like, you're going to get the music when you get the music. And that always, we know throughout history, if you're not quick with it, even now so more than ever, people don't necessarily forget about you, but you're not prominent in the forefront of the conversation.
But it was crazy because back in the day, Prince was criticized for putting out too much music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy that how things have changed.
I think Stevie put out his first on Tamla anyways. The first 3 albums came out in 2 years. 3 albums in 2 years is a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty quick. And so, and then you think about that and you're like, damn, some of these people, and I'm going to assume that music is much harder to make than contemporary music. So to make it in such time is kind of crazy to think about.
It's fucking crazy.
It's true. I think you got to think about what was the competition and like how much noise did he have to cut through back then, though? Because not that, of course, all respect to him and his journey, but it's like, nowadays, I think an artist trying to make a comeback, trying to cut through everything that's going on, it's way less of a sure thing. Whereas I think the studio to radio pipeline back in the heyday of Stevie Wonder's records, it was like a bit more of a clear path. You know what I mean?
True.
Well,
and he was
I think
19 to 20 or something like that.
Yeah, I think we need to do it. I think we're going to do a Mount Rushmore today of slow jams in honor of Untitled.
Wait, we're doing artists or songs?
Songs. Everyone gets one song that's going to be on their Mount Rushmore. I'll lead it off. Slow jams for the club. I'm going to go off with Genuine Pony, and you guys can go from there.
SWV Week.
Week. Yeah.
Week is good. I mean, Pony is the one you picked. The one I feel like that's the
George Washington.
Pony is such it's such a cheat code because you can fit it in a slow jam. You can fit it into peak part of the night.
Yeah,
it could be a midnight song. Yeah,
you could start off your night with Pony.
You could do a New Year's Eve countdown and drop Pony.
100%.
People would be like, "Great,
100%." And then you could close out the night with Pony.
Yeah, one more time.
Yeah.
If you weren't paying attention, Pony, write it again. Pony, again.
Write it again.
I'm very curious because
wasn't it what it was called? The remix? What was it called?
Pony one more time. Pony one more time.
I think it was called Right Again remix.
Pony up.
Willy, what song you going with?
I was trying to think. It's between two. There's two I like to kind of do a little cheeky drop with at the end of the night. One, if it's like the actual end of the night, last song, I think a good choice is always Boys to Men, I'll Make Love to You.
Oh yeah.
Just because that's one where like you let it play out, the lights are on. There you go.
That's the Right It mix.
Oh, yeah.
There's some horse reference.
Sorry. And no, it's the lights are on. People are leaving. You know, everyone's looking maybe for their last hookup, like last chance kind of thing. And it's one of the, and I've had this happen multiple times. Like people walk out of the club singing it. You know, like it's just one of those. And so it always sets a good vibe. The other one I like to throw in that takes people a second, but then it tends to have a great effect is Smooth Operator, Sade. Which
good
I don't
call.
know if you can call it exactly a slow jam, but it has that vibe. You know what I mean?
Smooth Operator is one of those cheat code ones too, where you could fit it in at any part of the night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, those are good.
It's Evan Campbell.
Oh, can we talk?
Yeah.
There was another one in my head that I was like, it has to be up there. Like slow jams that get played in the club.
I know there's so many that have to be up there for me. Like, you know, there's
Pretty Brown Eyes, Mint Condition,
Lovers and Friends for me, Nice and Slow for me.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Confessions,
Jesus.
Loving This
all
Club.
3 Ushers.
It's all just Usher.
Loving This Club remix.
Yes.
Good by Usher.
It's 3 songs and then Usher's face.
Yeah. My boo, Usher.
Okay, that's the clip right there. It's our songs and then Usher at the end.
I want to get into a lightning round. Willy, this is a this or that. One artist stays, the other goes forever. Anytime you go to load that song up, pull that record off the shelf. It's just an Air 404, does not exist. Starting with Frank Ocean or Miguel?
Who stays, who goes?
And the one I say is the one who stays or goes?
Yes.
Stays. The one stays, yeah.
Miguel.
Okay.
Nice.
Amy Winehouse or Dua Lipa?
Man, I know the one I'm supposed to say, but it's Dua Lipa.
Good. Very good. That's a double pick. We'll let that slide. Clash or Ramones?
Ooh, man, it's just personal taste, but it's Ramones for me.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cardi or Doja?
Interesting. I'll take Cardi.
Okay.
Yo, by the way, though, that song "Paint the Town Red" goes off for me every single time I play it.
Yeah.
No, it goes crazy. I love Doja Cat, man. But if we're talking about, you know, only keep one, it's got to for me Cardi.
Oh no, for sure.
Project Pat or Trick Daddy?
Oh, it's Project Pat all day. Project Pat's like one of my all-time favorites.
I got a couple Project Pat requests the other night too.
Did you? Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Hell yeah.
It's always good.
That means you got the taste.
Yeah.
Gorillaz or Blur?
Man, I think Gorillaz, but I'll be honest that neither one of those has ever been like my shit. You know what I mean?
Sure. Duck Sauce or Chromeo?
You guys already did this, man. You're recycling.
Well, no, these are past episodes.
Oh, these are previous.
These are all
got
previous.
You.
Yeah.
Nah, I was listening to the pod this morning to try to figure out what was going to happen, and I heard that one. Ducks
Shout out to A-Track,
yeah, no, shout out to A-Track, man. It's fun too. We've shared a couple guests, which is always nice for like the very small DJ podcast ecosystem. I mean, Duck Sauce or Chromeo, that's tough actually. I'm gonna say Chromeo.
Okay. Fair. No wrong answers here. Let's go with White Stripes or UGK.
Interesting. It's UGK. Okay. I don't even know why that took me so long.
Right.
The brain
it's more
was
of
like,
the shock of the comparison.
Yeah. Shock value. Yeah. Ice Spice or Glorilla?
Ice Spice, for sure.
Hypnotize Minds or Swish a House?
That hurts. I'm going to say Swish a House just because for me, that era is connected to like a lot of good memories in my life. And I just remember it was so exciting during that era. Like my life was fun. I was doing a bunch of fun shit. That was kind of when I was getting into like DJing professionally. And it was just one of those things where like, every new Swish a House artist was like a new superhero to me. Like it was just the most exciting time. I love that era, man.
Yeah. It's so great because the rest of the world was like, who's this? Who's this? And in Texas, they're like, oh, these guys again? Like everything chopped and screwed. Like, everybody was on it.
Swish a House actually like came out almost kind of reminded me of like NWO era. Like the Attitude Era when they came out, because it was like you didn't want to like them, you know. It's like it's super grimy, right? Everything else was like super upbeat, super pop, super happy and stuff.
This is like Jay-Z business casual era.
Yeah, and it was like you know, you had your Screwed and Chopped stuff in there, and it was like, man, what the fuck is this? It was like the Attitude Era of music.
Well, that's what I love, man, is when and this applies to any genre, anything, is like when somebody comes in so sideways, like you can't categorize it, you can't.
I like how you did that.
Something else
sitting on sideways.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I meant to do that too. And but no, it's I love artists that make the industry adjust to them rather than the flip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all Swish a House. Like Mike Jones coming in and just saying the same phrase 10 times in a row on a song. Like I couldn't get enough of it. It was the craziest thing. You know?
Right there with you.
Yeah.
Injected in my veins. I love it. 281-330-8004. Everyone knew that number. Everyone was calling that number.
People, I called it.
I called
me
it
too.
I hit him up on AIM.
There you go. For those of you that are born in the last 20 years, AIM was an instant messenger service.
AIM was before a iMessage.
And Mike Jones was a rapper.
Yes.
You'll see him on a tour somewhere with Nelly and a bunch.
He'll get the Las Vegas residency soon.
I'm not sure you will see him.
I don't think so.
Maybe not. No.
Yeah, I think he just cashed out and just living.
If Wu-Tang can get a residency, Swish a House can get a residency in Vegas.
For sure, though.
I agree.
Hold on, real quick though. Okay. Is it a full Wu-Tang? Like, what is this?
I have no idea. Yeah, I gotta find that out. I'll number crunch that while we're doing this.
Yeah. Who's gonna be there?
Yeah.
A couple more for the lightning round.
Who's all going?
We'll keep it moving along. Yes or No Doubt?
No Doubt, for sure.
Okay. Thundercat or Toro?
Man, Thundercat, I think.
Okay.
The again, two artists where like I know a bunch of records but couldn't name them. You know what I mean?
Sure. You'll know this one quite well. Mastercraft or Digitalism?
Interesting. It's man. I'm gonna say Digitalism.
Okay. Let's go with Armand or Fatboy Slim.
It's Armand for me, no question.
Okay. Dilla or Pete Rock?
I'm gonna say Pete Rock on that one, just because again he obviously we all know how good Dill is, but for me Pete Rock just made a lot of songs that had a lot of personal resonance. You know what I mean?
Sure. Steely Dan or Gangstar?
That's Gangstar. Okay. I never really cared about Steely Dan, to be honest.
Okay, all right. Spicy technique that just blew you away.
That's crazy. Everybody's that pulled me out of the number crunch.
I love that. I love that.
Sick. Yeah.
Neek, you got to make a mixtape for Willy after this to try to win him back.
A curated Steely playlist.
Yeah,
please.
A couple tough ones here. Let's go with Tupac or Biggie.
It's Biggie for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whitney or Mariah?
That's Whitney. Easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prince or Michael?
It's Michael for me, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
Like, obviously, this is a debate that could go on forever. But if we're just talking about like the shit that deep down in my soul, I'm like, this is my happy place. It's got to be Michael Jackson.
For sure.
I mean, if we were really talking about WWF too, that right there in itself was WWF, right?
Yeah.
Because they put it on for the fans that they were really enemies, but behind the scenes they were like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Except for that line, "Your butt is mine." Prince was like, "I'm not doing a song that leads off like that."
Again, for the fans, we're not going to go that way.
Yeah, well, Prince was like, "I don't care what fans it is. I'm not. You're not going to roast me." Well, hey, we got Prince on here. Let's roast him out of the gate.
We can say all kinds of great things about Prince, obviously, but I think it's also fair to say that he was not reaching for the unpause button. You know what I mean?
No,
no. Prince was not. He was like, take those buttons off of my tape deck. You know?
Run it.
So funny that he had a problem with the line here, but his mind.
The irony.
He had his ass all out.
His ass was out. His ass was out. Even though you're from Minneapolis, Willy, it's still Michael.
Oh shit!
I don't know, man. When I was in like 4th and 5th grade, like I used to try to dance like Michael Jackson. There was like. I look back on it, and it's some of the earliest times when I would really try to like command attention and like try to perform. Like I definitely have a memory of me in like 4th grade trying to get my whole class to watch me do like a really bad moonwalk, you know? Like
everyone gather around.
Yes.
It really was.
Everyone gather around.
Wait
see what
until
I can do.
You guys see this, you know? And then it's like I've never known how to do the moonwalk. I don't know how to do it to this day.
I love the idea of you trying to pull that off now and getting everyone in the room. Hey, everyone. Back in 4th grade, I used to do this a lot. I'd like to show you again now that I'm a bit older.
It's still just as bad.
Yeah, it's still just as. I mean, it is. It is still just as bad. Absolutely. I haven't learned anything.
I had the opposite. I learned to moonwalk, and I proceeded to moonwalk around school instead of just regular walk.
That's
awesome.
Hands in my pocket, moonwalking to class.
That would have been. I would have been so in. That would be the coolest thing I ever saw.
Willy's like, "Yo, everyone, come check out my friend here. He's moonwalking." He'll do it on behalf of me. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do it.
Doing it for the both of us.
Look at us moonwalking. Last but not least, Outkast or Hall & Oates?
It's Outkast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
Which is, again, for me, I have to, I'm not trying to give all these caveats, but like, I don't really like the yacht rock, soft rock, like whole genre. I like it, but it's just doesn't always hit me the same way as something like Outkast. You know what I mean?
Sure. Shout out to I think Steve Rydell is going to hear this and be very disgruntled in his chair listening to no Steely Dan, no Yacht Rock. He's going to lose his mind. Shout out to Steve.
Man, I got there's shit I know about, and there's you got to focus on the shit that speaks to you. That's all I'm trying to say.
Fair.
1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. We didn't do Justice versus Daft Punk.
Yeah,
but what would you say on that?
It's probably Daft Punk for me. Justice had more actual effect on my life, but in terms of just the shit I listen to at home, for sure, Daft Punk.
I like to do, every time we have a guest on here that's prominent in the blog era as well, I like to do a top 3 from them. Willy Joy's top 3 blog era songs that really resonate with you if you're putting a little capsule together for somebody.
Ah, man, I'm so bad at these kind of questions. Like, let me think about this. It's hard to say. I mean, Heads Will Roll is the obvious answer, I feel like, for most people, but I think I got to put it on there just because of the impact it had. I mean, again, shout out to A-Track. It's really his remix worth all thinking about.
For sure.
Yeah. Since you mentioned digitalism, what's that song? Is it Fire in Cairo that they did?
Yes.
Yeah, that track. That's a bit of a sleeper, but man, I played that for like a solid 1.5 2 years, and for me, it was one of those secret weapon tracks.
Hell yeah.
Man, what else was crazy back? You know what's funny, and maybe this is just me trying to dodge the answer, but it's like when I think about that period, everything I think about is local Chicago music, because what was so cool about the blog era was that it really felt like everything was kind of on the same level. So you could play like a block party song next to like some local rapper's song, and the club would kind of react the same way, you know? Like, I really like that. So for me, I don't know, man, it's something in Chicago. It's probably Mike Terror, Juke Them Hoes.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. People better do their research on that one. I know
I need to get that
so
again.
Big and small.
I forgot about that song.
Yeah. Produced.
I mean, it's either that or Dude and Them Watch My Feet. Those were like the two big.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. That's a capsule right there. And shout out to Cool Kids as well for all of that. What is on the horizon for you as a DJ and producer? I know we spoke so much on the podcast. Are you still playing out? Are you still touring? What's your interest in that?
Yeah. No, I never really stopped, but what happened for me was right before the pandemic, I had been thinking about starting a new project, like starting fresh, new name, new music, no back catalog, no history to it, like whole new thing. And then the pandemic happened, and obviously I didn't launch it then, and everybody slowed down and all that. And it's next year, it's like, I don't like talking about stuff I haven't done yet too much, but next year you'll see some of that. And that's kind of what I've been working on for the last, like, I don't know, 3-4 years, almost quietly. But yeah, man, I mean, I've still, I do shows here and there. I've been mostly focused on writing music for this new project. But yeah, I think a lot of that you'll see more of in the new year. But yeah, I mean, that's like the short version of where I'm at, man. But it's funny, like doing the podcast. I don't know if you guys feel similarly, that it's become such a big part of my life, and it's become, I think a thing some people associate me with at this point. But for me, it's like everything is all just like the path to the DJ booth, like that's all at the end of the day, like I like podcasting, I like producing, I spend a lot of time and care on both, but for me, like it's all kind of just an excuse to go DJ somewhere,
Yeah.
And so that's like, if you're talking about where I'm at mentally, it's just like I'm always just looking for the next show. That's all I really care about.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give us any hints on what's been inspiring you musically as far as production wise?
Yeah, for sure. It's so, I mean, if anybody knows my music, I put out music in a lot of different dance subgenres. I think most people would probably associate me with like bass music and trap music and that sort of thing. And it's the new stuff. I mean, it's not like a wild departure for that. It's still dance floor music. It's still bass heavy. Still very ravey. I mean, I'm a huge raver at heart. Like I'm a lot of this project for me is kind of trying to get back to like the 17-year-old raver that I was, and just really embracing sort of the simple pleasures of it, where it's like I didn't know anything, I didn't know genres, I didn't know artists, I just knew I had found music that I loved that I had never heard before, and it's kind of trying to get back to that vibe. But I mean, it's rave music, 100%.
Sure, hell yeah, I love it. Any additional? Oh, you know what? Let me pass it to Neek really quick. We got a little housekeeping.
Oh yeah, house.
So what we like to do around these parts, we like to set our friends up with fast food endorsement meals, a la Bad Bunny and Travis Scott at McDonald's. So what we want to know is, what is the Willy Joy meal and where is it? So what is your go-to fast food spot, and a very specific order?
Yeah, I can do this. I will say I will say, full transparency, I haven't eaten fast food in probably a decade, maybe 15 years. It's been a long time.
Smart.
But but before that, I was heavy in the game. And I can definitely answer this. It's Taco Bell without question. And for me, it's simple, but it's the chili cheese burrito that I think is still on their menu. I still look every once in a while, even though I don't eat there anymore.
Drive by and have a glance.
Yeah,
Nothing
like,
for me, thanks.
Yeah. So I would get the, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 chili cheese burritos with like, what else? There's the thing with Taco Bell. The problem is that their sides aren't that great. So it would always be like the chili cheese burrito, maybe like a 7-layer burrito. But I don't know, man. I'm a simple guy. Like if we're being honest here, my meal would just be like 4 chili cheese burritos in a bag.
Yes, I love that. Give me the Willy Joy meal.
Yeah.
Bag. Just hand you the
Pass it
bag.
to
Here
me.
you go.
Here, just take it. Get out of here.
It's already made.
Yeah.
100%. I think they'd shamefully hand it to you like out the back door, so nobody had to see.
It's one of those. Pull up front. We'll bring it to you.
We'll bring it to you. They don't go through the front door though. They go through the back.
Yeah, we'll be right out. Travis.
Yes, Willy. We are developing our DJ biopic cinematic universe, just like the MCU or the DCU. So in this DJ biopic cinematic universe, who is playing Willy Joy?
Okay, I have two lookalikes. Well, no, that's not true. There's maybe 3, but the 2 I get the most. One is like a friend. Me and Mike 2600 have very similar builds. Like if you saw us in the same room together, it
I would have to
really
agree.
is kind of like 2 of the same model. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just like, yeah, they pulled 2 off the floor, and
Quite
so
literally cut from the same
They
cloth.
pulled 2 off the floor.
And so we've gotten that a lot. There was an era where we were wearing the same kind of glasses too, and it would get a little hairy. But I think if this is Hollywood and we're going for that, there was an era of my life where me and Adam Levine had the same hairstyle.
Fair, okay.
And I absolutely signed an autograph as him in an airport.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
And so I think it's got to go to Adam Levine.
Oh, I love that.
I love that. Amazing. That's good.
I saw Adam Levine moonwalking in the airport the other day. It was just strange.
It's really weird.
It's really weird. He's a better dancer, but I don't know. He must have been having an off day.
Signing an autograph and then moonwalking away is just
fantastic. It's like we thought we saw Mike 2600 at the airport, but we turned out to think it might have been Adam Levine. He signed her hat and everything, and then he moonwalked away.
The other one I've gotten a couple times is Neil Brennan, the comedian.
Oh yeah.
But I have found out we had a small Twitter discussion. I found out he doesn't like that comparison, so I think he's got to go to.
Oh, like straight up?
No, he was joking. He's a nice dude, but
I don't look like that fucking guy.
He's friends with some DJ, like he's friends with some people we know, and so there was like a connection to it. But he was like, "Yeah, I don't see it."
Very well then, Neil. Moving on.
Yeah.
Jesus. Before we roll out, Willie, I want to add one song to our 5on5 podcast playlist. Any song you're feeling right now that you want the world to hear?
Man, I mean, so we've been talking about genres where I feel a little out of my depth. So maybe I don't know your guys' areas of interest, but maybe I can put you in that place. I've been listening to nothing but metal for like the last 6 months.
Bring it. Let's go.
And man, there's just one song is tough, but let me see here. So I got to give you an EP if that's okay. It's probably my favorite metal record from last year. It's this group called Dream Unending. And they're this group out of Toronto, I want to say. And the EP is called Song of Salvation.
Okay, yep. I got it.
And it's, I mean, if you just want one track, Song of Salvation is the title track on the album. It's 14 minutes long. It's like, I don't know how deep we want to go into this, but they're like in between like doom metal and something they're calling like dream metal. So it's like there's some of it is just like ambient music. There's like long passages that are just kind of like drone washes of guitar, and then it'll break.
Oh, this shit is super psychedelic.
Yeah, very psychedelic. Yeah. And it'll break into like really slow guttural metal stuff for a while. It's like shit you could put Lord of the Rings on mute and listen to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so rad.
Yeah, no, it really does sound like that.
Just managed to put like 100 people on to something just now, so that's fucking
for real.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
That's my shit, man. I go deep on a nerd tip as well, and it's just been hitting the right spot for me, man.
Nice.
It's like highly technical, but also like you could cosplay as an elf to it, you know?
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
I'm for that.
Before we ride out, anything you want to share, any upcoming projects, anything you want to promote, obviously the podcast, and let people know where they can find you on socials as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right now it's back-to-back podcast. Every Tuesday we're dropping new episodes. If you like dance music, I can pretty much guarantee some of your favorite artists have already been on the show. Many more to come. And yeah, it's at Willy Joy at Back-to-Back Pod. Is this it? Are we rapping?
We're rapping. Yeah.
Man,
I mean, we can go on. We can.
I mean, you told me to prep to like talk about my career. So earlier today, I was like, okay, so this year I did that and that and that. This is way better though. This is like,
that's always how it ends up working out. We'll be like, we're gonna talk deeply about your career, and then we just riff on
we just go off the rails.
Yeah. Taco Bell and moonwalking. Yeah. I'm so sorry for any misconfusion.
Dude, this is great. I had a great time.
Yeah, man. No, but any projects outside of that you want to share?
Not right now, no. I mean, just keep up with me at Willy Joy at Back to Back Pod on whatever, and you'll hear about the new stuff. But it's not quite there yet. Next year, I'll be talking about it a lot more.
Cool. Any spoilers on guests coming up? Anyone you got locked in that you're excited about?
Man, yeah, who's coming up? This is funny. Do you relate to this where like I can't remember what episodes I've already released versus the ones that are in the can? So next week, well, first of all, when is this coming out?
So I was just gonna say, we eliminated that problem by just this.
You guys are living dangerously.
Tuesday.
Yeah, we are. We really are.
This will come out yesterday. So.
You guys are living on the edge.
Is when I tell you we're teetering on legit. Like this is.
Oh man, I just got so anxious vicariously for this because I've been there. That's the worst feeling in the world, and if you're doing that every week, God,
man, there was one point.
Surprisingly, it works out. Like it
does work out. It really does.
The car's on fire going down the highway, so a couple things are going to happen here. There's not many choices.
Hey, we're still behind the wheel on that though. All
right. Next week is Flux Pavilion. I think back to back, and we've been having some good ones, man. I'm in the era now where I've had enough first conversations with people that I can start bringing some people back, and I think if we're coming full circle on like this podcast convo, I think that's when the podcast, it's like a wine. It's when it really starts to ripen, and really becomes like just like a beautiful thing is when it's actually you can hear a relationship evolve over time. So for me, it's like this is the second time Claude Von Stroke's been on, second time Flux Pavilion's been on, other awesome people I've had on a bunch of times at this point, and those are always the best conversations. I think is like Flux Pavilion we were just bullshitting about fantasy worlds that he's trying to build and talking about, he was telling me how he's going to start wearing a cape next year on stage. Like, it's just like kind of like all the shit we're talking about, moonwalking, all that. I was like, this is all I really want,
It's great.
Like hearing about your career path is great and all, but tell me about the cape.
Yeah.
For sure. Any bucket list guests that you're like, this would be a dream guest?
I mean, the obvious one is Skrillex. That's like since day one, that's what my listeners have been asking for, which of course I get it. I'd love to have him on too, but there's, for me, it's less about, I'd love to have him, but it's less about the bucket list kind of thing. Like for me, it's just like, I want the people on it who really want to be on it. Yeah. Have you guys had one yet where it's like some publicist is pitching you? I get a lot of like publicists pitching people, and shout out to all the publicists who I work with who are great, but it's like sometimes you'll get someone who's clearly on a press tour and it's just I could not think of a more fucking boring person to talk situation.
It sucks. It's an uncomfortable situation when that
happens. We all have one in mind from not too long ago, and you can tell that we're just a pit stop along the way, along with 3 interviews before and 7 after. So it's tough. I'm definitely excited to see the trajectory as the podcast continues to grow and you continue to sit down for second interviews and third interviews with guests. I'll let Daft Punk know that obviously, after Skrillex, they'll come talk to you,
Well, we did it. I had Busy P on and we were talking about,
cool.
Oh, that's dope.
The history of him managing Daft Punk. And even that, there was a cool moment in that one because I'm sure you guys as fellow nerds know, like Daft Punk's first ever performance in the US was at this rave in, right outside of Milwaukee, I think. It was in Wisconsin, this like a barnyard, literally like barnyard rave in the 90s. They weren't wearing masks. They were like teenagers, I think. And I managed, because I kind of know a guy who knows the guy who threw that rave, I was able to find the original contract that he had with Daft Punk from like 95 4 or whatever it was. And I was able to send it to Busy P, and it blew his mind. And it was like, it's just like little things like that. I'm like, that's really all I want, man.
Yeah.
Just those fun moments.
Whenever you get to hit him with a Nardwuar moment, that's like the coolest.
Yeah.
How the hell did you get this?
Do you remember how much they played for?
No, I don't remember offhand, but I do. There was something funny in it where it was I could be getting this wrong, but I feel like it was like, it was a very informal contract. And there was some wording in there that was like, we would like to stay in at least a 3-star hotel, but if that's not possible, that's okay too.
We got the place for you.
Yeah. Just sleep in the pyramid. They're like, what? You're like, oh, you'll see in like 10 years. Like, yeah. It's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Hey, Willy. Willy, what's a couple of your favorite green rooms that you've been to?
Ooh, great question. Great question. This is a bit of a deep cut just because it's off the beaten path, but there's a venue in Birmingham, Alabama called Saturn that is it's the best. It's the best everything. It's like the most slept on place ever. It's not a club. It's more of like a live venue that does dance nights as well. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those places that couldn't exist anywhere outside of a town like Birmingham. It's because, Alabama's like such a fucking crazy red state, and Birmingham's like a little dot of blue in there. And even inside of Birmingham, this is like it's not, I couldn't even call it like the alternative district. It's like the alternative like 3-block radius, but this place, I mean, it's where all the cool kids are. It's where all the counterculture is. And Saturn, what's amazing about playing there is you stay above the venue. It's like one of those artist apartments that some venues do, but it's basically like, so Saturn is a live venue. It's a coffee shop during the day, and it's like a barcade as well. But it's all separate. So it's like a few different separate areas. And the artist apartment is the loft above the entire like block building. So you're staying in this incredible, huge loft that, I mean, sometimes, they have bands stay there, whatever. But when it's me, it's incredible because it's a space meant for like 15 people. And it's every wall, every floor space is like covered in incredible like music memorabilia. They have pinball machines, they have a pool table, you have a private rooftop deck like just for you. It's crazy. They have like there's like the little airport lounge snack machines where you like turn a dial and snacks fall out. They thought of everything. It's like I can't even describe, like I'll send you guys a picture after because it's even crazier than what I'm describing. It really is like heaven on earth to me. Saturn has the best green room, period.
Shout out Saturn. Birmingham, Alabama.
Saturn.
Yeah. It's like the Drake in Toronto. They have that huge loft above there too.
They do. Yes.
Yeah, and shout out to the Drake. The Drake was one of the first venues to book me outside of my city. I had like a little residency there for a couple of years, well before anyone should have been flying me anywhere. So I have so much love for the Drake. However, their artist apartment, which I've stayed in many times, is nothing compared. Saturn blows it. Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So funny. Yeah, I want to see those videos of you being like, I shouldn't be here, everyone. Just before we get started.
Just in a video.
My first gig.
It's the beauty. I mean, you guys have had this, I'm sure, because I was young, so I didn't know that they shouldn't be paying me this much and they shouldn't be flying me out. But you look back and you're like, oh, me at that age? Like, I was barely a person, let alone a DJ. Those shows were great, though, man. You guys I'm not trying to talk forever if you guys got to go, but it's like, for me, I love thinking about those early, like when I think about Toronto and the Drake, like I didn't know what I was doing. Everything was new. Every show I was playing, I was on a run of like crazy shows. It just felt like everything was hitting, you know what I mean? Before you had to even think about how am I going to make this sustainable, or how am I going to, pay my mortgage 5 years down the road. Like there was no consideration. So it was just pure fun. What was that for you guys? Like where were you? What was the crazy gig?
Well, I'll go ahead, and I think you remember. Yeah. I was down in Bloomington, Indiana, and
I was thinking about this earlier. Yeah,
you and I I can't believe I haven't told this story yet on this episode. This needs to be told.
We're talking about the restaurant, right?
Yes.
I was thinking about this in the shower this morning.
I gotta adjust my seating here. Wow. Okay.
I would love to hear, because I feel like we're gonna have two different recountings of this story. I would love to hear your version of what happened.
Oh, this is going to be good.
So I was throwing parties in college with a couple friends, Tyler and Paul Hewitt, and we were running out of venues to throw these parties, and we were bringing down DJs from Chicago, bringing up DJs from Louisville, Kentucky, and it was like 20, 30, 40 bucks at the door. We had a friend selling beer out of a beer tub, and it was just straight dance music the whole night, just blog era, just whatever you found that you knew would go off, the shittiest quality remixes, whatever, and just people sweating and getting there early and staying until they end, a line down the block, blah, blah, blah. I ran out of places to throw this, and so a girl that was going to the party, she was like, hey, my family has this French restaurant.
Oh God! And this just sounds like a disaster right now, because you didn't even put a name to the girl.
No.
Start off with, okay.
No.
So
she goes, if you guys are ever having trouble throwing it somewhere, I'm sure they would appreciate the business, throwing this party at the restaurant. So I said, yeah. Like right away, I was like, how about next month? And she was like, let me talk to my dad, blah, 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 blah. And so we pulled it off, and we booked Willy Joy to come down and DJ. And so it's way overcrowded the night of. There's people outside. We way oversold it. Her dad is this old French guy, like freaking out about how many people are there. There's people in the walk-in cooler having sex.
Yes.
It's just a mayhem.
Yes.
Mayhem of a party. The girl
best way to stay warm, by the way.
The girl I was dating at the time pre-gamed with 99 bananas, which, if you guys don't know, is a 99 proof liqueur. So she's in the bathroom.
Damn, I forgot about that.
Yeah. She's in the bathroom getting so sick in the bathroom. And this girl comes out, and she's like, you're in so much trouble. She's like, my dad is furious. And so I'm trying to negotiate with him. Meanwhile, I have to go on and DJ, and Willy is here. He shows up, and the ceilings are
negotiating
dripping.
with him by bringing him back to the booth. Yo, I gotta play, so you gotta come over here.
Come on.
I was like, look how many people are here. Like, this is what they're all gonna come and eat at your French restaurant forever. Like they're not college students that are only here for like a year or whatever, Willy was on the other side of that, so I want to hear your recount of this.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I've never seen anything like it before or since, because just to be clear, we're not talking about like my dad owns a former restaurant that's fallen out of use. This was like they had just shut down dinner service like an hour ago. And like they just pushed the tables to the side and piled them in a corner. And I mean, the party was incredible. I do remember that. Like it was I think that was probably the first time I had ever been to Bloomington.
Yeah.
And it was just everything you wanted out of a college town party. It was like just pandemonium, people losing their minds. I think I still remember, I think everyone had like great sets that night. I remember really enjoying playing to the crowd. People were losing their minds, going crazy. But what stuck in my mind was like, it was one of those where like literally the walls were sweating and it's like all glass out to the street and it's all fogged up and disgusting. And I just remember at the end of the night, like I was looking around and just being like, so like people are going to eat brunch here in like 6 hours? like to me, I was like, there's no way this restaurant could open up again. Like it's pretty much a wrap on the restaurant. Like it was disgusting what was done to that place. And I couldn't, it was just one of those where I was like, I can't believe they let us do this. I was like, this is the craziest thing. And of course I didn't have to deal with anyone yelling at me. Like I was just, Colin was gracious enough to bring me down to play a party. And so for me, I was just like, all right, I guess we're done here. I just walked out and never thought of it again. But man, I think about that all the time because I'm sure we've all played at some like crazy venues and weird situations. But that for me is a one time only, like playing in an active restaurant and just it was like I don't know. It was like my very tame version of like a Motley Crue hotel room story where it's just like, this place is not usable anymore.
I just remember this girl and her dad just screaming at each other. And then they looked at me and they both started screaming at me together.
Yeah. And they were justified. Let's give them that.
1,000,000%. And then they opened up the walk-in cooler and I was like, oh no. There's like, we were selling 40s at the time at the party as an idea to make more money than a regular beer.
Oh God.
We can sell 40s for like $20 because people want to do Edward 40 hands.
It was carpeted. I remember that it was carpeted, which is a nightmare.
No.
Yeah.
Absolute nightmare. Like I just can't, I really kept picturing people eating there the next day. And I'm just like, oh my God, like we're going to find out about a new disease that had never been discovered before when somebody eats at this place. You know what I mean?
What on earth? Oh my God, bro.
It was bad. It was bad.
Dude.
So everybody just piled out and you're just like, sorry.
Yeah. Pretty much.
You're the Kevin, what's it? Kevin Scott or whatever the meme is.
Kevin James, right?
Yeah, they're the Kevin James.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I remember Willy moonwalked back to Chicago right after that, and I was talking to these people, and I remember Willy hit me up the next day. He goes, "Everything cool? Is everything okay?" I remember Willy being way more concerned than I was at the time, and I was like, "I should probably take this a little bit more seriously." I think if the guest that left was way more concerned than me, I was like, "Shit."
I can wholeheartedly see you not giving a damn. Like,
like conversation because I think that restaurant might shut down tomorrow, bro.
We paid them. I left. Who cares?
There's got to be a picture, and I'm gonna try to pull it up on Facebook.
If you have pictures, that would be crazy.
Oh, I need to see this.
I think I'll
definitely
be
going to be the cover to this episode.
God, this is
I think I can find a picture. It was what a fucking time, man. Oh man,
that is fucking hilarious. I love that. That's why the fuck wasn't that at the front of the episode?
Yeah.
I love.
We can switch it around. I love the fact that the dad and the daughter were yelling at each other. Then they stopped. Then they looked at Colin.
Hold on.
Yeah.
A common enemy.
Hold on. We shouldn't be yelling at each other right now.
That's exactly right.
We both have been hoodwinked. We thought this was gonna be wholesome.
I got in so much. I got in so much trouble from them, and I remember there was a voicemail left on my phone, and it was half in French. So I had to ask somebody. Like, I was like, "Hey, is there any chance that he said maybe some good stuff in there?" And they're, you know, you brought my business so much money, blah blah blah. You know, and I was like, yeah, they're like, yeah, there was nothing good in there. You know,
how do you say lawsuit in French?
yeah. I was like, oh, he was not happy. I'll find the picture somehow so you guys can see it.
Oh my god, that is so as the cover. Funny.
It was
just hilarious.
It was just a time and a place. And I didn't even think too, Willie, you were on that Justice New Year's Eve show.
Yeah. I've played with Justice a few times. Yeah, I mean that one was legendary.
Colin, was that when you were living there?
I drove up. I was front row. I was wearing a pea coat and a tie the whole night because I thought it was going to be like a fancy New Year's party.
Oh, no, Colin.
I was way overdressed. No. And there's a picture of me with a digital camera, and I'm wearing a fucking pea coat in front row, getting smashed up against the barricade. What an idiot.
That's amazing. I remember that. That was super fun, man, because there's so many eras too. Like I love talking about the different eras of a DJ's career because that for me, I was just a Chicago local, but I was at the level of local where I was, you know, one of the probably like 4 or 5 like go-to people for like, you know, openers for the bit.
Oh, is that the party?
That's the party.
Wow.
Oh my God. Send that to me right now so I can use that.
That's the party.
Jet setters with the Jetson logo. That's
the shock on my face is me getting screamed at on the other side of the camera while trying to pose for a picture. Yeah. Oh my God.
But man, Congress Theater, that venue where that show was, speaking of Flux Pavilion, I was just talking about Congress with him because he was saying that was one of the first venues in the States that he ever played. Was Congress Theater in Chicago. And for people who don't know, it's a massive, you know, like 4,000 or 5,000 person venue. He was long story, but basically he couldn't get a visa for a long time. So by the time he got to the States, he was already like a big act. But yeah, we were talking about Congress, man. There was nothing else like it. There's a few venues in the country that I think were huge for dance music that like really changed the scene around that time, and I think Congress Theater was one of them. That was just, you know, Congress. You know what? Congress Theater. It was like a Wild West feeling venue. Congress Theater was the same feeling as destroying that French restaurant, except there were 5,000 people there instead of 200. You know what I mean?
So sick.
Yeah. Just a beautiful theater that every time just looked a little bit worse and was a little bit less up to code the next show. You know?
Oh my God, yeah. The balcony is like doing like this with people bouncing. It's so bad.
You would pull down like because they had theater seats. So you would pull down the seat and there'd be like no cushion. And so it's just like springs sticking out. And it's like, we're just going to run with it. You know, there was no air conditioning. No, it was so fucking hot in there. And it was like beautiful marble when you walk in everywhere. Yeah. And people just like destroy this place every night. I saw Justice, Empire of the Sun. Everyone played there. Wu-Tang, MF Doom played there. Yeah. Like everyone. So
I saw Prodigy there once.
Oh, wow.
Sick. Yeah. Dude, what a fucking time. Yeah, this Nick, you can put this on the front of the episode. We'll swap everything. We'll move everything around.
It'll sound very natural. I got it.
Very natural. What a fucking mind fuck. I guess we can wrap it up there. I guess we can ride out from there. Unless there's anything, Willie, anything you guys would want to share before we roll out?
I mean, I could talk to you guys forever, man. This is super fun. Let me just say thank you for having me, man, and let me give you your props as well, man. There are not many DJ podcasts out there, and out of those, there's even fewer quality ones. And so I love what you guys are doing, man. I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you kept doing it.
Thank you, brother.
It's cool to see it grow and. I think we operate in like overlapping but not the same spheres of DJing, and it's fucking cool, man. I love seeing your guys' perspective and all the conversations you're having, and keep it up, man. I love it.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming on with us, man. It's been a blast,
dude. Anytime. Have me back sometime, man.
No, of course.
Yes. Absolutely. We will definitely do a round 2. We just had Gina Turner on the show, and some of the stories she was sharing from that era too. I want to dive deeper back into the blog era, and we'll talk more about the rehab residency and doing all of that next time we have you around, because there's so much Chicago history.
I mean, dude, let's get into it. Kid Sister, Floss, the whole scene. We already talked about Cool Kid. I mean, there's so much we could talk about, man. Yeah, absolutely,
definitely. Well, thank you. I want
to give a quick shout out to DJ Buckmaster and his family. DJ Buckmaster passed away a week and a half ago. He was a legendary DJ out here in Portland. He played over at Dante's Inferno. Every Sunday, every Monday and Wednesday, I believe, but definitely every Sunday. But yeah, just a legend in the game. Took his own life. Was dealing with a lot of mental problems. So DJs out there, go talk to somebody if you're struggling. We don't want to see y'all. We don't want to see y'all leave. We gotta keep the music going. So shout out to Buckmaster and his family.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we will wrap it up from there. Absolutely what Travis echoed. Reach out to somebody, and we will continue to provide a platform for you guys to hear stories and kind of get that community from the DJ scene. We'll be back next week with another guest. DJ Rick Wonder, I believe, is going to be joining us. I've been playing so much of his stuff, as I'm sure you guys have as well. We'll get to tap in with him, and we'll do our 2023 wrap up. But until then, everyone stay safe, take care of yourselves, and we will see you then.
Peace.